Okay, another video. I'm Retro Steve. Some know me as my real name, Steve Hess. Anyway, I'm going to demonstrate how I sew rag ends together to make one big long weft. So here goes. I'm just going to do the first one here without any explanation. So the ends are now sewn together on those two, and I just keep building onto my length of weft here, and I'll come back and trim them after a little bit. So let me get real close here. I think you're in the view there. Well, maybe not. Let's see. Down here. Okay, so what I do is I overlap the ends 90 degrees to each other, making sure there's a little bit beyond being flush with the edge. Then I'm going to point with the scissors here. Then I go sew from this crotch, in other words, where the two cross right there, to where the two cross right here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Here goes. Lift my foot up. Oops, I came down crooked. Okay, and then I start my machine and I aim for the other side. I bet my fingers were in the way. Let's see. Let's see, where can I do this? This is hard. Okay. We'll try it from right here one more time. Okay, I'm choosing a different color of material each time. I started out with a whole bunch of different cloth that I cut into strips, and then I put them in a bag and I shook them up and got them all mixed up. And so now, okay, I'm going to move my fingers long enough to show I'm centered right over the crotch on the high side of this, and I'm going to let the foot down. Okay, now I make sure I'm aiming for this crotch here at this end, and I'll hit the startup. Hopefully I can hold it together. I normally have my fingers more close to the work, but to let you guys see, I'm hoping it'll work. Let's see if it does. It's going good. There it goes. And then I came out exactly at the crotch there. Okay, so that's another one sewn on there. So now I'll get another one. Okay, here I go. I'm going to lay it down to where I make sure both ends are crossed at 90 degrees. Put this in there to where the foot will come down on it. Okay, the foot is on it. Now I'm going to move my fingers. Maybe if I use the scissors to hold it, to steer it, will let it work better and you can see everything. Okay, it worked pretty good. I like using my fingers better, but it worked. Okay, so I'm going to do one more before I show you the other part of this. Okay, so there we go. Okay, hopefully you can see it. I'm going to leave my fingers pretty normal. Okay, so now those are all sewn with the thread still attaching between the different sewing, you know, when I sewed each of them. Okay, so then now I'm going to trim the excess off here. So, okay, let's see. I think that should work. Okay, so I take my scissors here, and the first thing I do is I cut it off even there and separate the two sections of sewn together stuff. And then, I don't know if you can see the thread in there that was sewn, but I cut about 1/8 of an inch away from that. Okay, so there you go. You can see that. That's how I sewed it together. And then when you unfold it, it turns out one continuous piece of weft. So then I throw this on the floor, just drop it onto the floor. You'll see why I do that in a second. Okay, so then I just continue along here and I trim each one of these. Okay, I'll slow down on the next one and show you once again. Okay, so here we are. These are all tagged together. So I go in here and I cut right even with the top edge of what is mostly pink here, so that it gets rid of it right there. Then I come in here and now I'm 1/8 of an inch, not cutting in two, but 1/8 of an inch from where I sewed. And there you go. There's another one. And the little bit of variation there is probably because I wasn't more accurate, but it's plenty good. You can never, you hardly ever notice that seam in there at all. Okay, here we go. Do that again. Okay, throw it on the floor. And they're just kind of stacking up there in the order that I'm cutting them. And that's real important. Here in a second, you'll see why. Okay, so one more time, I'll show you how I separate them. Okay, so I'm sewing right along my right hand. I suppose it's left to you on the screen. And so I sew there, and now I'm going, this one's blue, so you might be able to see the white thread in there, and I just stayed real close to that. Okay, here's one that finishes all of the recent ones I've done. That one was nice and even on the top side, so I didn't do it first. I didn't explain that at the time. Okay, so now I've already gotten a bunch onto my rolled up ball, and so now I'm going to wind onto there this that I just did now for you guys to see. So I just wind this around here, and I just keep turning the ball a different location, and the new wraps help to secure the previous wraps in there as you do this. Okay, there I am. Now, I'll put this right next to the sewing machine. So, there I am, right at the sewing machine, ready to do a bunch more. So that's how I make my weft. Again, weft is the stuff that goes left and right across the weaving fabric as you're weaving. Warp is the stuff that's on the loom that runs longitudinally, or in other words, it's coming toward you, being fed off of the back beam onto your work area and then eventually onto the breast beam when it's become fabric. So I hope that helps explain some things. I certainly am not a teacher, but I love sharing things that I've discovered in life. So hope you enjoy this. Bye.